All right, very good evening to all of you, to all our viewers जो आज अभी देख रहे हैं हमें और जो आने वाले टाइम पे देखने वाले हैं. It's a special day once again, and there are two reasons why it's special. First of all, we have a special guest, and that's why that makes us the day special. We have Pratyaksh Bagi with us. Pratyaksh, thank you so much for joining in, taking out time post 8 p.m. First of all, I hope you and your family are all fine and safe during these times. And thank you for joining on this platform. It's a real honor for us for you to join this platform and share your thoughts with our viewers and students.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me over here. Yeah, it's been unprecedented times, and I hope I'm fine. Thank you so much. And so my family, I hope you all are doing fine as well.
Thank you so much for your kind words. And once again, as I said, thank you so much for your time. Another reason for we have a special day today because we have the founder of and the CEO of High Sales Consulting, with whom we have co-created this particular course, which is very one of the first time in India such program is being launched. So Prakash, thank you for joining in once again. It's like a double whammy for our students, for our viewers, two sales czar, two B2B sales czar of India coming on this platform of Skill Edge.
Hey, Rohit. Rohit, thank you very much for inviting me, and a pleasure to be a part of this event, and especially when Pratyaksh, a dear friend of mine, has come on board. So good to be on this particular platform with you and Pratyaksh. So thank you very much once again for calling me on board.
Sure, great. Quickly, just for all our viewers, हमने Wednesday को एक special session किया था, similarly an industry talk session with Tabrez Sheikh. आप लोगों को याद होगा, the senior enterprise director of Zeta. Today we have the business head of Hungerbox. Quickly, I'm going to introduce him. But what's the agenda? The agenda is we are launching our product Sales Edge, which is India's first B2B tech sales program, a live online classroom for final year students to maximum 2 years experience who are looking to build their new age career in sales and marketing. And on that note, we have with us the special guest from industry to talk about some very crucial aspects of B2B sales and the usage of technology. We have identified 3 questions, and we are going to ask our expert these 3 questions and going to listen to his views. To begin with, it's my absolute pleasure and honor to introduce Pratyaksh Bagi to all of you. Starting from Senior Relationship Manager from Kotak Securities to having his own entrepreneurial journey as a co-founder and sales head for, I think, a couple of companies, to a business head of Hungerbox. I think it's a journey of which defines and kind of explains everybody the kind of experience he brings on the platform. So it's an absolute honor once again, personally speaking, definitely, and for my company, it's a great honor, sir, to have you on the platform. Without further ado, let me start with the first question.
Sure.
All right. The reason why I've written out in kind of in a bold, it's, we keep on hearing this, and
yeah.
And it's always a B2C versus B2B, and B2C is what we keep on hearing in the college days from the Unilever and the ITC case studies. But the days have changed, the times have changed. Pre-COVID also, and I'm now sure post-COVID, the days have changed, and as I said, the mindset is more B2B. So is it really a fact or a myth that B2B sales is always a long time to sell? What's your take on that, Pratyaksh?
Yeah, right. So I think this is a dilemma, which most of the people who enter the industry have to face, right? And most of them come with a preconceived notion, right? Whether they think that, if it's a B2B sales, then, it will take a long time to close a deal, right? If you ask me, to be very frank, whether is it a fact or a myth, I would say it's actually both. It's a fact as well as a myth. Okay, I'll tell you the reason why. See, every industry has a different timeline, right? It may so happen that it takes a lot of time for you to close a deal, right, in a B2B environment. But that doesn't hold true for all the industries. So to each industry, it's specific. So just to give you an example, if you go to a company like Make My Trip, right, or Oyo for that matter, what will happen is a salesman can go on a day, he can start a day making 4 calls in the entire day, right? He can make 4 prospective clients, and that can be completely a cold call, right? 4 cold calls in a day, right? He can go and he can sign up with the client, right? He can say that, okay, you can become my business partner. He's not selling his product as yet, right? But he sold a part of his service to him. That means he's made that client a business partner, right? And he can probably start selling from the next day onwards, right? So it has happened. I know a lot of friends who are into the similar industry, like in Make My Trip, they went in the morning, they signed up with the client, and from the very day, same day in the evening or next in the morning, they start getting the business. Like, I want to book a ticket, or I want to book a business trip. And similarly for industries like hospitality, like Oyo, right? It can also happen that you try to close the deal and you don't get the business for the next 6 months. So in the same industry with the same company, the long and the short time applies in both the conditions, right? Now, that is one of the aspects, right? See, what is also happening is that it depends upon how recurring the requirement is of the company, right? If the requirement is on everyday basis, wherein what happens, let's say in case if a company is sending its sales employees, right, on business trips, and if the frequency is as high as 5 times or 6 times in a month, right, then you start getting business from the very first day or the very first week, right? And you don't have that much of time to close the deal and even start getting the business, right? But if the frequency is that of once in 6 months, then obviously it takes some time, right? So that is the first and the foremost thing, right? Then second thing which matters, whether it will take long time or a short time to sell, is the cost involved, right? So say for example, if the cost of closing a deal is very, very high, right, then it's very natural that in all probability it will go to the top management, right? If the cost is too high, the juniors or the administrations of the company do not have the authority to take the call, right? So first a salesman will have to go present the product to the client, where he will have to hard sell it, and then the commercials come into the picture. Once the commercial comes into the picture, then the first round of negotiation takes place. Immediately, the admin will start doing the negotiations with you, right? After the first round of negotiations, he'll say, okay, fine, I'll see what has to be done. If he's convinced, then he will take it to the top management. Once it goes to the top management, then obviously they don't, they're not free all the time. So they have their own lot of pending work which they have to do. Then they take their time out. Then they review, they do the cost benefit analysis, and then they come back and say, okay, fine. I think, what I think it's a little too high on price. So maybe you need to renegotiate, sure, right? And then it comes back to the admin, it comes back to the, to the salesman. And then again, he has to go to the management and convince them to, okay, fine, this is what they're asking for, and we need to renegotiate. So this whole process, right, can take anything between 1 to 6 months as well, right? Depending upon how big is the requirement, right? Or how in need the company is in, right? So that is how it goes. So if the product or services which you are trying to sell, right, is anything between, let's say hypothetically, anything which cost 10 lakh rupees, right, to a client, right, then I don't think it takes a week's time or 10 days time for closure to take place. It can take anything from 1 month to 5 months or 6 months, right? So that is the cost involved is one of the major factor which decides whether it will take a long time to sell or a short time to sell, right? Second, third important factor is that it really depends upon who has the authority. If the junior admin of the team of the company, right, or of the mid management of the company has the authority to take the call, right, then there is a high chance that it can close, anywhere between 10 days to a month's time or a month and a half, right? But if the call has to be taken by the top management, the CEOs or the CFOs, then again, the timeline expands. It can go anywhere between 2 months to 6 months of time, right? So that is another factor. The fourth biggest factor is that the product or the service which you are trying to sell, do they already have an existing partner for that? Sure. Right? So that shows how much are they in the need, right? So if, say for example, if I am in Hungerbox, right, and we digitalize the corporate cafeteria, if I go and approach a company who already have an existing vendor who's digitalizing their cafeteria, then it will take a long time for me, right, to go and convince them and tell them that, I'm a better choice for you, right, than your existing service provider, right? However, if a client comes to me and says that I am looking for a service provider and I do not have any, right, then the the whole premise change.
Sure.
In that case, what happens is that the company is in need, and they want to close it as soon as possible. So from a from a position wherein I was trying to convince the client to close the deal, now he is after me to close the deal, right? So what happens over here is that it can happen, and I have experienced it, right? We have closed the deal with the clients where they had no service provider in a matter of 15 to 20 days, right? And against against a situation where they already has an existing vendor, right, or an existing business partner, and it took almost a year and a half for us to close the deal.
Wow.
Sure.
So same situation, same service, same commercials, and the timeline can be from 15 days to 1.5 years.
Sure.
So there are different, so there are different matrices, there are different permutations and combinations, because of which it can vary from a long time to a very, very short time, right? But standardizing that B2B is a long time, takes a long time to sell, I think that's completely a myth. So that is something which I don't believe. Yeah, I don't believe that happens in each and every industry.
I think very well answered, Pratyaksh, and thank you so much for answering that. Just a quick recap of what you said to all our viewers. Fundamentally, it's when Pratyaksh started talking about this particular answer, he said it can be both, depending on 4 factors. Number 1, the type of the industry, where he spoke about and gave examples from OYO and other aspects. So that's the type of the industry, right? The second, he mentioned about the cost involved on the product and the service, which can eventually decide the time to sell. The third is who is the decision maker and what hierarchy that person lies in the organization to make a decision, and that obviously decides the time to sell. And finally, and the most important is, as we say in Potter's 5 forces, the cost of substitute, right? If the cost of substitute or threat of substitute, as we say, it depends on that. Whether it's a passive selling or a reactive selling will eventually decide on that particular time to sell. Thank you so much for this question, this answer to this question. Great answer. Let's go to the next question. Prakash, you would like to ask this question to Pratyaksh.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Rohit. So, Pratyaksh, one more question. I'm very curious to know, and even the audience is very curious to know, the importance of knowing and applying technology. Post-COVID, the entire scenario has changed. You also know that, right? The disruption has happened quite quickly. In 3 months, everything changed completely last year. Okay. So, importance of knowing and applying technology in B2B sales process for tech-enabled companies. So today, every company is a tech-enabled company. Okay. So what is the importance of knowing and applying technology? Over to you, Pratyaksh.
Correct. So, as it may sound as much cliche it is, right? But the world has been, a post-COVID and a pre-COVID, we live in a post-COVID scenario, right? So it was like after BC and before BC, right? So see, what happens is that earlier, before pre-COVID, right, it was almost impossible for any one of us to even imagine selling a product remotely to a client, right? Sales without a meeting was something which you could not even think of, right? Over a phone or over a Zoom call or Hangout call. I believe 90% of people wouldn't, even in the tech industry, would never use it. Yeah, right. So this is what happened, and I was a firm believer, because obviously I come from a generation, where most of us believe 90% of our life was involved in selling face to face, right? So I always believe that having a physical touch, a face to face conversation, right, creates a kind of bond, right? It creates a kind of emotion which helps you sell a product, right? But trust me, it changed completely after COVID, right? And to be very, very frank, I was completely amazed and aghast by the fact, with the kind of sales which were happening, with the kind of adaptation which both the clients, the prospects and the sellers adopted, right? Post COVID. And really, it was, for the initial 1 or 2 months, it was very, very awkward, to try to sell a product to a client over the Zoom call or over a Hangout call. And in most of the cases, cameras being switched off, right? So you weren't really sure whether, the client is even listening to you or is he doing something. You weren't sure, right? Because saying a yes is the easiest thing. You can always say, right? And you are not even in a situation where you can ask it, did you hear that, right? Or asking them that, what I said. So it was kind of, creating a lot of confusion into the mind of the person who's pitching the product, right? But to be very frank, and in my own case, I have noticed it. We I joined Hungerbox, right, in the month of Jan 2020, right? And I was selling it for the first 3 months, right, physically, by going to the clients, meeting them physically. And in the next quarter, it took some time to, adapt the whole situation. And in the next quarter, trust me, the kind of sale which we made, it was amazing. And we did not expect the companies, buying a product which was new to it. It's a kind of a new product. It's a tech product, right? It's not easy to sell a product without giving a demo, without a person understanding what we are trying to say. Earlier when we would make a call, right, but in a physical way, right, we would have a blackboard, a whiteboard on which we would explain. There were a lot of questions, a lot of confusion. It would take on average an hour's time to make a product easily, to explain the product to a client. Here I had a 30-minute hard stop call in which I had to explain the product to the client, right, without being physically present, and the cameras being switched off, right? But we adapted, and I think everyone across the industry adapted. Even the prospects, even the clients accepted that, okay, fine, this is the way to go, and they made the effort. And I think technology, the way it has changed, probably if COVID had come in the year 2005 or 6, I think the whole economy across the world would have suffered big time, right? It wouldn't be what it is today. If we have survived the COVID, if we have survived, the biggest catastrophe of the last century, it's because of the technology. We were almost working from the very second day of the national lockdown. I guess 24th of March was when Modi announced, and I remember the very next day, or a day or two after that, we had our first call over a Google Hangout or a Zoom call. So such a quick adaptability, could happen only through the technology, right? So coming to your question, coming to the question of whether how important it is to knowing and applying technology. See, having said that, that we have moved from a physical form to a tech form, I still believe that emotion still plays a very big part, right, when you're selling a product. Because if you are not able to express, right, or if you're not able to give the proper solution to the pain points of the client, how much ever impressive your product may be, how much ever good you may be at explaining your product, it will still be difficult to sell, right? So the first thing is to understand the pain point of the client. Once you know what the pain point is, right, and you're convinced that your product will be able to offer the solution to the client, then your application, your knowledge of application of technology comes into the picture, right? So just to give you an example, what has happened is that we Hungerbox, right, I'll give you an example of my own company, right? What will happen is that we made an app, and the demo was completely done in the form of an app, right? So the moment the way you will download an app and you will start using the app, our demo was done in the similar way. If you press this will happen, then you have to do the next steps, so on and so forth, right? So it became so easy. And we would tell the client to download the app, and we would tell them this is how you do. So on the Zoom call, at the same time when the client was trying to use the app, right, we were explaining the entire demo over the Zoom call, right? So it was very, very easy for him to understand how the product works, right? So knowing an application of technology, I think has enabled everyone to make or sell the product very, very easily. See, again, it depends upon, I've worked in different industries, and you don't have to be very, very technical, in order to sell a product, right? But you need to know that how your product works. You must also understand that most of the people who are buying your product, right, they may be, not so tech savvy, right? So the whole idea is to, make it, give the demo in such a way that it becomes very, very easy for them to understand, right? So application of technology, absolutely must, it's very important for everyone to know. But I think the base of selling lies in how you express, how you explain the product to the person, right, in such a way that you explain it to a very, very amateur, and assuming that this guy is not so tech savvy, and you still make him explain in a very, very easy way. So I think that's the key.
I think well answered. I believe.
Yeah.
I think one thing that we can learn from this answer, at least what I have learned, is the fact that there is a caveat to knowing the technology. Yes, technology is important, which is what Pratyaksh also said that this was a savior. Apart from the vaccine, this was the savior during these times for all the businesses. Having said that, your ability to express yourself while selling, which is what we call in simple language storytelling, still holds that power, still holds that kind of, for a fresher to join this industry and move ahead in his career. Technology is important, yes. Having said that, your ability to express yourself using technology as an enabler is what Pratyaksh is highlighting.
Yeah. So just to add on to what Pratyaksh has mentioned, so it was beautiful. So two things what I take away from this, and I'm sure audience would like to hear, that is adaptability and adaptability. Okay, both are important and equally crucial. So you need to adapt, and people who have adapted have thrived, and you need to be skillful also, adapt also, okay, at using the technology. Okay, so adaptability and adaptability. So Pratyaksh is what I take from your discussion, and how you make the entire package comprehensible, or people can understand it in a very simple language. If you talk of gigahertz, if you talk of some nanotechnology and all, people will not understand. You need to tell them whether it will help them or not. It will reduce the cost, save time, increase their market share. Okay, so yeah, thank you. Beautiful answer. Over to you, Rohit.
Sure. Right. I think this brings me to one final question on this session. We all know, and our viewers are aware, that we are coming up with this course called as Sales Edge, which is a live online course run by industry experts. For the first time, a sales and marketing final year student of BCom, BTech, if he is interested in sales, technical sales, PGDM, MBA, MMS, all marketing specializations will have this kind of course for the first time for new age career in sales and marketing, as we say. So Pratyaksh, I know that you have seen the syllabus. You had a feedback on the syllabus also, and we have worked on that. Would like to know your take on the syllabus. So there is a content snapshot that I am showing in front of you. What's your take on such kind of syllabus? And is that something that, yes, freshers need it? Is that something that companies will be happy to find people who are day one job ready coming out of this particular course? Does that help them to reduce their training cost, if I have to say that way?
How Rohit, how I look at it is that it's a win-win situation for both the company as well as the person who wants to join the organization, right? See, many a time it so happens that so I'll talk about the company perspective first, right?
Sure.
So from a company perspective, the biggest fear which a company has is that, let's say, if I take a person, right, and after investing and training a person for the at least a month or two, right, the guy leaves the job realizing that this is not his cup of tea and probably this is not what he or she is interested in, right, and leaves the organization, right? Because that is a huge impact, right? There's a boss who's waiting for his team to build up, right, who spend almost a month and a two investing his or her time, right? There's a company who's spent on the training and all those things, only to realize that after 2 months or 3 months the person leaves the organization, right? And this is something which I think all the industries across the world are suffering from, right? So I think it's a wonderful gap which Prakash and you guys have found out. And I think from a company perspective, this will help it, this will do wonders, right? Even if you think from a employee point of view, right? See, what happens is, let's say if I'm a fresher who's just come out of MBA or who's just come out of who's just done his graduation, right? I'm completely clueless, right? And the course structure, as you know, Indian education system, right, is such that we are not trained for the on-job trainings, right? So we are not told, we do not know exactly how we are going to deal and what will be our role supposed to be over there, right? So all the learning happens on the job, right? So let's say if I join a company and I spend a 2 months time to understand, okay, fine, this is what it is, this is what it is, and this is what I'm supposed to do, right? And then I realize, no, this is not my cup of tea again, right? And I say, okay, fine, I don't want to do that, right? A lot of people come up with the wrong notion of what they will be doing once they start selling, right? So obviously, when you read Philip Kotler, or when you do marketing, right, your expectations are that I'll be going over there, I'll be doing some strategies and things of that sort, and then I'll crack big deals. But then that is not happens. The first stage, of course, and rightly so, it happens in all the organization, is the first thing when you are a fresher is to cold call, right? Whether you do it over the phone or if you do it, by going door to door, right? Because that is the best way to learn how to sell, right? That is the hardest way, right? And that is where people, there's a mismatch in the expectations and what the reality is. So I think this, the course content which you guys have created, I think this will give a very realistic idea to all the people that what is expected out of them and what will they do over there, right? Along with that, the kind of the content of the course, in which you are ready the person that you need to have at least these skills once you go on the job, is definitely a big add-on, right? I may go over there and probably I do not know what is ROI, right? Or let's say if my salary is X, what is expected out of me, right? If all these things are already inculcated or explained to the employee, right, I think it'll help the employee and the company to a lot of extent in understanding that, see, listen, this is your salary, this is what I expect out of you. So this is the input and this is the output, right? So the chances of a person realizing that, okay, I've got into a wrong industry or I've gotten into a wrong field will minimize to a lot of extent. And I think that is going to help both the companies as well as the employee. So I'm really very optimistic of this business model. And I think I don't know why it took so long for someone to come up. I'm glad Prakash came up and you guys came up with this idea. I think it's wonderful.
Thank you.
No, I think it does make a lot of sense coming from an industry expert like you, Pratyaksh, and thank you so much for your kind words. Yes, I think, yes, we all understand by looking into it that the skill level and all those things will be enhanced. But very interesting point that you mentioned is about the expectation matching, which is where we call it in Gyan word, we call it industry academia mismatch. Now that happens because of expectation mismatch. If there is an expectation match, the industry also gets, or the company also gets a person who is ready to deliver from more or less day one. And the person is also happy in terms of delivering, in terms of seeing his or her career moving ahead. So I think very well said. And thank you so much for your kind words. And we look forward to interact with you more during the course of this, which we are launching. So we have the first induction on 20th of this month, which is I think day after tomorrow, on Sunday, and we are launching the batch on 26th of June. That's the first batch that we are launching. We'll have a couple of inductions in between, but we will look forward to have you on somewhere during the course, whenever you have some time during the weekend, as a mentor, and who knows, if the students graduate properly and you are impressed by them, they may join Hungerbox also.
Absolutely. I'll tell you something, Rohit. Companies are always looking for talent. They are they're hungry for talent, right? And trust me, when I was looking to build up my team, we were having almost 20 to 25 interviews a day. A major part of my productive time was going into interviewing people. Wow. And I would barely get 1 or 2 people out of 20, right? Which is close to 5 or 6%, right, of the candidates coming to interview, which I thought were maybe a fit. I wasn't very confident of them, right? So I think with this thing coming up, I'm sure that percentage is going to go up massively.
Sure. Thank you. So also Rohit, one more thing is like when such kind of support and stamping comes from an industry expert, which is definitely Pratyaksh, so it lends a lot of credibility, and it also puts a lot of responsibility on us to deliver it to the expected, as you rightly pointed out, the expectations mismatch. Okay, it brings the onus back onto us, and students who are listening out to this will be more than happy that there is a need, there is a requirement, and there is a stamping that is been done by the industry expert altogether.
Sure. I think with this, we come to an end of our session of industry talk. I think no thank you is short. Thank you so much, Pratyaksh, for joining this platform. It was a fascinating talking to you and hearing your thoughts. And I think it came directly from the straight from the heart. And I think I'm sure we benefited. Currently, who are watching us definitely will benefit. And those, so we have more than 1,000 plus subscribers in YouTube who will definitely watch this video as per their time. I'm sure they're going to get a lot from this discussion.
Great, absolutely. And as I said, thank you for having me over here. And with this wonderful course coming up, I think it's going to benefit all those who are watching and thousands of more who will be joining your platform soon. and we look forward for your first batch. We encourage such talent coming in, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pratyaksh, and nice to interact with you. And thank you for coming over and having your discussion.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. A last shout to all our viewers. Don't forget to subscribe us. Skill Edge Official is the social media handle, and it's the YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe us, and don't forget to click on the notification button. Thank you so much, all of you. Take care. Stay safe. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.